Hola! Hello again, everybody. It's your girl Ego Dram. Bubbles! I really should record and upload more often. Things are always very busy for me. My schedule is kind of hectic and chaotic. Few quick things before I get into the meat and potatoes. In the video, wait, I'm a vegetarian. The tofu and potatoes? I've been seizure-free for 6 months now. Haven't had a single one. The new medication is working. I've made an appointment to follow up with my neurologist, and hopefully soon I will be cleared to drive again. I probably won't drive very often, or at least out very far. I want to kind of get my bearings back, you know, and minimize the risk of damage as much as possible. Second thing, my husband and I just got back from an amazing road trip vacation all the way out to Glacier National Park, with a stop at Badlands National Park in South Dakota. I posted some pictures to my Instagram. I posted a video to my TikTok. These places are absolutely magnificent, and I am happy to share that beauty with the entire internet. If you ever get a chance to visit South Dakota, Montana, lots of pleasant surprises in these places. Highly recommend. And now down to business. I went to art school in the early 2000s. Guess what actually happened my first week of classes? And I had a drawing instructor who was strict, is the most TOS-friendly term I can use in this video to describe her teaching style and her as a person. Mostly her classes focused on... Shit, my hair braids are coming out. I learned a new way to braid up my hair. Spent 20 minutes pinning this stuff to my head. Pin, 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 pin. Stay where the fuck you are. Most of that drawing class curriculum involved charcoal, graphite, traditional ink and sumi brush style drawing, figure drawing, especially some still lifes, and not a whole heck of a lot of what I'm going to show you today, because from my recollection, she said that creating fine art, specifically the term fine art, with this media wasn't a thing that was ever going to happen. And I'm sorry, Gail, I'm about to prove you wrong. Turns out that this right here is one of the most amazing art tools ever invented. Yes, you are in fact looking at an ordinary ballpoint pen, one of the most frequently stolen objects in America. No, I will not tell you where I got this. Yeah, it is totally possible to create detailed, intricate, and immaculate pieces of art with something as simple as a ballpoint pen, and today I aim to show you how. Now, normally I don't like to get all dolled up for my art tutorial videos, but since I'm not working with any wet media today, I don't think it's a problem. If there's no wet media, there's no way to ruin my lovely clothes, now is there? So now that I've told you what my intentions are today, let's get to work! Yes, I turned my overhead light on in my studio, as well as a portable light that I have basically pointing directly at me. For this art tutorial, I am going to be using an ordinary ballpoint pen that I found, as well as just an ordinary sketch pad. You can get them for not a whole heck of a lot of money, and you can get them at Target, Walmart. You can order them off of Blick, which is an art supply distributor that I regularly buy my art supplies from. I'm not sponsored, I'm just making a recommendation based off of my experience with the products and the services. Now, when you go to write your name or sign a document, you're probably used to holding your pen up like this. Most these ballpoint pens come with this little squishy little surface here, like this, between the knuckle joints of these two fingers, and then secure it with my thumb. With my fingers this close to the tip of the ballpoint pen, of course, you would expect to hold it this way in order to be able to sign your name. That's not my real name, because you want nice, bold, legible lines when you sign your name. But what if I told you that there was a way to get soft, smooth lines with a ballpoint pen? I hope you can see okay. I'm gonna hold this over. See how I'm holding it further back than holding it close? That's because it's a lot harder to press hard from back here than it is back here. So you can make softer, smoother, not so rough lines and shapes and impressions from back here than you can at the head of the pen. See the difference? I hope you can see the difference. Now watch this. I'm going to pretend there's a little bit of light refracting off this sphere, this marble, this globe, whatever you want to call it. And see? See how thin those lines are? If I press too hard, or if I hold my pen too close to the tip, you get the bolder lines. But you get the softer, wispier lines. I know this orb doesn't look very good, but this is just for demonstration purposes. The further back you hold the pen. Now, one way that cartoonists typically do to get shading effects from ink and pen, whether they use ballpoint pen or something else, or more traditional ink media, is hatching or cross-hatching, which is when you get a shape. Look at that nice bold dot right there. I hope this looks good because I'm having a hard time seeing exactly what I'm doing from the angle I'm sitting at. All right, like that. The intent there is to create something like a shadow, to depict shape, as well as shadow. Shape, form, this, that, or the other. Cartoonists do things like this all of the time, and they have for a long time. Hell, I recall seeing political cartoons going as far back as the American Revolutionary War that do this. Men have been talking about the Roman Empire. I have been thinking about the French Revolution for the last couple of weeks. Did you know that after the first French Revolution in the 1790s, they came up with their own calendar system? It was actually pretty bold. It's called the French Republican calendar, or the French Revolutionary calendar, but they only used it for, I believe, about 12 years. That's 3 times longer than the Confederacy. Let's try drawing something a little more in-depth, so you can get a better idea of how it is I do this. When I was 12 years old, we had an exchange student come to our school. She was from Japan, and for a project we were working on, after reading Sadako and the Thousand Cranes, she showed us the correct traditional way to fold origami cranes, as I'm doing here, and it just kind of stuck with me. And now what we're going to do next is take this janky-ass origami crane, set it down on my desk in front of a white or light-colored background so that there's less stuff getting in the way visually. And I am going to still life this haphazardly folded crane. I'm keeping it real simple to start with. I'm not in any particular hurry. Still life drawing is its own discipline, so to speak. It takes time, it takes getting used to, but it's a great way to learn, specifically shape and form. One downside to drawing with or sketching with ballpoint pen is that any mistakes you do make on the paper, they're going to be permanent. So be sure to get lots of practice with this technique in a sketchbook or a cheap sketch pad before you move on to larger projects with this, because as you can see, I've already made several mistakes, like the neck of the crane, the angle of the wing doesn't exactly look very good. So this all takes practice. If your first few sketches don't look great, don't worry about it. You'll get better with time. Also, I'm hoping to break noobs out there of the bad habit of outlining their drawing first and then filling it in. Next, I want you to notice see that I'm still making these incredibly thin, simple little multiple lines in order to get an effect of shadow. Is that I'm not arbitrarily picking the direction in which my lines are going. I'm actually doing my best to go in the same direction that the paper is. See how it's arcing upward toward that point there, toward the top? That's kind of what I'm doing here, is I'm going with the flow of energy in the direction of the object, so to speak. And notice how when I have to do darker spots, like just under the tip of the janky-ass wing right there, I still don't have to press hard. I just need to stay back and make several of these sweeping little lines on top of each other. See? Big difference between this, which will most certainly do that. It's a little too sharp. So again, just keeping consistent with, so just keeping consistent with the shape of the wing. And if this is something you're actually going to attempt yourself on your own, stick with blue or black ballpoint pens, not colored ones. And while it's possible to do this with gel pens for beginners, I don't recommend it because that medium is very finicky. And now we have a sketch of an origami crane. Now, as you can see, there's a couple of blotchy spots under the crane's head behind the wing, a couple of other blotchy spots elsewhere. That happens sometimes, and the best way, in my experience, to prevent that from happening is to watch very carefully for any ink or buildup on the tip of the pen itself, and keep a paper napkin or something handy to just kind of gently wipe the tip off a little bit. I can see those gutter thoughts swirling around y'all's little brains. Knock that shit off. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And again, you can see some other spots on the drawing where, as you can see, there's not only little blotches, but some of these lighter lines here where never mind, that's cat hair. There we go. Made a couple of little mistakes. But as you can see, ballpoint pen does not necessarily need to be hard little lines like this. You can, in fact, do nice, soft little lines and surfaces, and you can capture depth and volume. And again, this isn't great. This was made for demonstration purposes. With a bit more time and concentration and less wine in my bloodstream, could probably do quite a bit better. But yeah, this is just a still life. This is just a sketch of a origami crane that I did for the sake of this tutorial video. And that's it, and that's the tutorial video. I hope you learned something today. I hope I helped to challenge any preconceived notions that you might have. What I like about the fine arts nowadays is that they've become so much more versatile and flexible in terms of people creating masterworks that don't rely on traditional media. And I think that's awesome. My art school experience, not so awesome. Maybe I'll cover that in another video in the future. It's gonna embarrass the hell out of me, but it's a story that deserves to be told. I hope you enjoyed yourself today. I hope you continue to enjoy yourself, continue practicing, continue learning. Remember, your creative process is your own. Here, have some bubbles on the way out. Nobody hates bubbles. All right, be good to each other. Bye-bye.